Another episode, ShiftED podcasts. Coming in today, we're in the midst of fall, term one almost over in our school system. And today I have a great guest, Eric Curts, who is an EdTech guru, I would say, a world leader in education, and just provides amazing resources, an amazing book he has out, which we'll get to. But Eric, where are you coming in from, first off?
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for having me so much.
Pleasure.
So I am from Northeast Ohio, just south of Cleveland, not too far. Usually that's what I give people as a point of reference,
Yeah,
if they're not familiar all that much with Ohio.
right, right. Ohio, I think we share the same kind of temperate zone, like we're heading into winter here now and
Right.
the air is getting a little chillier and our brains a little bit colder.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Ohio winters can be they can be rough. It just you don't know. I think in the last few years it's been more a matter of cold than
Oh,
snow. I remember being a kid and having a lot of snow days. Now it seems we have a lot of weather days, but it's because of cold. Like it'll just get so cold that's not safe for the children to be out, or the buses can't start, or things like that. So
absolutely.
we'll see what this winter holds.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, we've had some unexpected warm temperatures. I
Oh
was
my
in a
gosh, yes.
school actually on Monday where it was like 25 degrees. I don't know. I can't do the conversion to US, but
That's totally fine.
it's freaking
But
hot. I'll say
well, it's
that.
yeah, it's today here in Ohio, on the Fahrenheit scale, it is going to be 72, which basically is like room temperature. It's
Yeah.
very nice. It's an incredibly pleasant day, but I think it's the last one. Looks like we have about a 20-degree drop coming in tomorrow. So we'll
Yeah.
see. But yeah, that's where I'm dialing in from.
Enjoy the weather today. Um, so Eric, I always love to ask kind of like where it all started for you,
Sure.
education wise.
Yeah.
What was your draw to want to be in education and work with students and build learning capacities um and then we talked before we hopped on here
Yeah.
and how that evolved into
Right.
from student to teacher
Yeah,
training.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So this is my 33rd year in education. I've been doing this a while. I was a middle school math teacher,
Mhm.
taught middle school math for 7 years before moving into a role as a tech coach, tech integration specialist, whatever.
Mhm.
But to answer your question about what attracted me to it, I mean, of course, you're talking about, Eric, who was, 17 years old and making decisions, that's a whole different Eric. It's kind of
Yeah.
hard to imagine that. But basically, it was that when I was in high school, I did spend a good deal of time tutoring classmates and helping.
Mhm.
And I found it was something that I was good at,
Yeah.
that I was able to take information they might be struggling with and put it in a way that they could understand.
Mm.
And I found satisfaction in doing that. I liked being able to help other people. And so I think that experience of being a tutor in high school to my friends drew me toward that. And I ended up picking math as the area that I was going to become a teacher in, not because I love math. And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying anything negative about math. Math's fantastic. But like if I was going by passion, it would have been science. Oh my
Mm.
gosh. I mean,
Okay.
I love science, or it would have been language arts or something like that.
Okay.
The reason I picked math is I remember thinking this. I was like, I wanted to pick something that I thought a lot of students struggled with.
Mm.
Like, I'm going to pick something that, unfortunately, there's a stereotype of, oh, math is boring, or math
Mm.
is dry, or math is whatever, and there's amazing teachers that is not the case at all in their classes. But that's a stereotype that's out there. And I thought, well, okay, let's do that. Let's make math fun. Let's do that. And so that was my goal. And I felt like for the first 7 years when I was a math teacher, we had a lot of fun. I mean, I taught middle school, so that you can get away with a lot of fun things. So
Yeah.
that age group,
Yeah.
but I tried to make it really hands-on. If we were learning how to multiply mixed numbers, Well, we cooked pancakes. The kids came in
Mm.
and I had like all these ingredients. I'm like, hey guys, we're making pancakes today, but here's my recipe. And oh no, it's only enough for this many. We needed enough for all of you guys. We need to take this recipe and multiply it by, 2 1/3. And
Right,
so we had to do all the math, but then we actually cooked the pancakes and ate them and,
right.
just tried to make it into something that was like, so I love
Mm,
that. I really did, but I also loved technology. So the
right,
entire time that I was a teacher for those 7 years, I ended up being the go-to guy in the building. If you
mm,
had a technology question, people suddenly realized, oh, hey, Eric knows how to make things work and help with this, and he can show you how to use Microsoft Word or whatever we were using back then.
right.
And at that time, then we had an influx of money in the state of Ohio through some state funding that allowed for connectivity in
Mm,
buildings. We finally got internet connectivity. We
wow,
got computers in the buildings,
cool.
and that was the switch.
Right.
My district decided to create a position for somebody to help teachers use the technology that we were suddenly getting, and I switched on over. So I
Yeah.
went from teaching the kids to teaching the teachers, and that's what I've done ever since. I
And
was, I was at, I was at that district for 21 years, and now
yeah.
the last 12, I'm at a regional service center, an educational service center, where I do the same thing, but for about 35 districts up
Okay.
here in
Okay.
Northeast Ohio.
And when was it that they introduced, computers, brought the internet in? Do you remember
Yeah. So
those
that would
beginning
have been right
years?
around 1999.
Mm,
So I started teaching in 92. And I taught for 7 years. So 99 is when I switched into this tech role right around that time. So 98, 99, we had something called SchoolNet Plus. That was and I don't know, the funding source in the state of
okay.
Ohio. And the goal was to get one computer for every 5 students. That was
Mm,
the ratio they were shooting for,
mm-hmm.
and to have internet connectivity in every building. And so prior to that, no, there was hit and miss things. Like,
Mm,
we did have a couple computers here and there. I had one in my room. We had some connectivity, but it was very limited. And
mm,
so that was the turning point. And a lot of schools at that point started looking for, okay, let's get somebody to help with this process
right.
of,
Right.
now that we've got the technology, what do we do with it?
Exactly. And those early years, I mean, I did something very similar too. I think it was still around 1999 as well, or 2000,
Yeah.
where we gave every kid a computer, across our whole school board, which encapsulated probably about 43 schools. How did you find teachers reacting when all of a sudden they had this, open highway to the world, plus these devices? Those early years, do you remember their reactions to technology and ed tech?
Well, yeah. I don't know that it's all that different than now. Absolutely. I remember having some early adopters. So
Mm-hmm.
what they ended up doing was they basically put me in one of the computer labs, like an open computer lab. That
Okay.
became my office. And my job was to lure teachers into the computer lab, like, bring your students to the lab. I will
Okay.
help you. I will help teach a lesson. I will be your right hand man to assist you in this. You will not be alone, but please don't leave the room because I want you to learn too
Right. Yeah.
while the students are down
For
here.
sure. For sure.
Um, and so, yeah, you had your early adopters, people that were just excited about it. You had others that were hesitant for so many reasons. It could have
Mm,
just been, overwhelmed with how many other things they had to take care of, or just being unsure about how to use the technology. So, I did loads of trainings, all these after school sessions that,
mm-hmm.
again, trying to pull people into those to help bring them along. And so I think it's a lot of those things are probably still similar today. You're always going to have folks along a spectrum. I've always seen my role as meet the teachers where they're at.
Mm,
You know,
right.
if that teacher is excited, awesome, empower them and help them run. If that teacher is, struggling and they're a little nervous about the tools, find something that's going to be a good match for them,
Mm,
figure out where their pain points are and say, okay, well, here's a tool that can help address that, and then hold their hand and bring them along with it. So it's all about meeting our teachers where they're at, just like we do with our students. Yeah,
for
it's
sure.
it's it's good education all around,
Yeah.
as a teacher,
Yeah.
understanding where people are at and helping them move along.
Right. Yeah. And I remember too in those early years, I mean, again, very similar paths here, Eric. And I would be in the room and the kids would be pretty okay. They'd figure it out. They'd push buttons and navigate their way. But I felt my role was really just, as you said, that right hand person
Yeah.
next to the teacher. And it was really, I was there for them, not the kids per se. Um, what other techniques did you find, like strategies that you used that were particularly effective in, um, bringing them to the water? I mean, you can't make them drink, but you can at least, you know, push them along a little bit. Like, what were your strategies for helping teachers become more comfortable, or, exploring a tool that maybe they had no idea of?
Absolutely. And so, it's a wide range of things. It is the professional development for sure. Having as many PD opportunities as possible so that teachers can be trained and get comfortable with this content. It's also, creating content, whether it was training videos or newsletters or blog posts or things like that, to provide that to them. But again, a lot of it is trying to, meet them where they're at by finding out, okay, what is it that you're trying to accomplish? Because, technology shouldn't be something you're trying to add on top of what you're already doing. Nobody has time for that. Oh, I've got to do everything I'm already doing, and you want me to now also do technology. It was a matter of saying, no, 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 no. Tell me what you're doing in the next 2 or 3 weeks or the next month or whatever. What's coming up in your class? Let's find a way that we can use technology to assist with that. So it fits what you're already doing, but elevates something. Maybe it increases student collaboration. Maybe it gives a little bit more student, choice, or maybe it allows for some deeper critical thinking. Whatever. Let's just bump things up a little bit, but let's put technology in a spot where you're already going to be doing something. We're not adding something more on top of it. And hopefully, doing that, help the teacher see a logical connection between technology and their goals for the students. And hopefully it was something that they learned from. Hopefully it was something that maybe even saved them time. I don't know. Sometimes it's tough the first time you do something. It may take a little bit longer, but hopefully you're like, oh no, this wasn't bad, and I see the benefit of it. So I think, that philosophy is so important, that technology is not to drive the curriculum. The curriculum is to drive the use of the technology. Technology is the tool. It gets exciting, like, oh, I found this shiny new tool. How, I want to use this in my class. That's great, but it's still got to be, what are your objectives? What is your curriculum? What are you trying to have the students accomplish? And what's the right tool to assist with that?
Absolutely. Totally agree. I'm oftentimes talking to teachers too, like technology, I try to not even talk about it. Like, it's always about what's your intent, what would you like?
Exactly. Without a doubt. Yeah,
Yeah. And technology
absolutely.
always can find its way in, like, and you kind of bring it in without too much stress or like the
Mm-hmm.
focus on it. Cause I do find, when it's the focus on the how to of, um, it deviates from, well, what's our purpose here? Get at it.
Yeah, and I don't think that'll ever change,
Yeah.
whether it was, 30 years ago or whether it's, right now. That's the approach we should be taking to get buy-in from teachers, to support students.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely.
And what do you think, Eric, about a little bit of the pushback that's happening about just the well-being of students in technology? Like, where's that balancing act where we can use EdTech in our classrooms and it's not this, endlessly scrolling and kind of like detaching from reality through, typically their phones, the kids. Um, like, how do you get that balance in teachers that might be a little kind of hesitant, or how do you talk about that with teachers of that balance of how much we bring in and how much we just don't bring?
Yeah, I mean, and that's not just something for students. I mean, that's the same for us as adults. I struggle with that. I mean, that's years ago, I added to my list of PD sessions I do, I added one on digital well-being, because I realized, yeah, this is something I struggle with. And, I find that as a teacher or as a tech person, I can justify it so easily, oh no, I'm doing a good thing, writing this blog post, making this video, being on the internet because, oh no, I'm fine, I'm on Facebook, I'm on this, but no, I'm looking up really cool educational things
Right.
and at the expense of maybe balance, physical health, mental health, emotional health, relationships, all these other things. And so yeah, I started doing a session about that, about digital well-being and how it's important for our students, but how it's important for us as well. And, part of it is just having the conversation. Part of it is, being aware of how that could possibly affect you. Thankfully, there are some good, free curriculums out there. Google has several. I've got a bunch that are linked in that particular PD that, we can use to at least have that conversation about finding a healthy balance in there. Um, and then, I think for me, it's honestly it sounds almost silly, but it's setting boundaries for myself. Like I feel like I'm telling on myself here, but like, when I get done with my work day, 4:35, whatever it is, I kind of basically just like, okay, I'm leaving my phone here. I'm gonna, head upstairs and make dinner or whatever. And, my wife and I are just going to connect. We're just going to
Yeah.
talk, and it's kind of like a no tech zone for a while there,
Yeah.
where,
Good
okay,
idea.
later on, I'll head back down and I'll, get some more work done or something like that.
Mm.
But having, actual boundaries, because if you don't, it gets eaten up if you
Yeah.
don't actually have spoken agreed upon things where it's like, okay, yeah, at that time of day, that's it, boom, phones away, and we're
Right.
we're just connecting, we're talking face to
Right.
face,
Right.
so I guess, in the classroom, again, yes, my job is to help show how to use technology in education,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't want to ever give the impression that every lesson has to have technology. Every lesson must be tech integrated. No, no, no. We need kids connecting and talking. But the thing is, I mean, that can coexist. I don't know. Has edu protocols made its way up to you guys? Does that phrase mean anything to you? If not, so John Carippo kind of really spearheaded that. He's from out in the West Coast,
Mm.
and edu protocols is basically just it's a framework of teaching where you're using technology, but it's all about getting students engaged in the learning process.
Right.
And so what you're trying to do is, sure, yeah, you're using tech and stuff like that, but there's always built in times where students get in pairs and
Mm-hmm.
they discuss things with each other, or they're in groups, or they're doing a class, share, or there's things where students are literally like, that's part of it. You are
Right.
talking to another student.
Right.
And I do a session on those because I think those are fantastic. It's a way to make sure that students aren't just, because and it actually came from the fact I had a school that was saying, hey, Eric, can you do a training that would help address this? They go, we walk around and we look in the classrooms and we see everybody's got a Chromebook in front of them. Every student's got a Chromebook,
Mm.
but nobody's connecting with each other. We just see them, sitting there
Yeah.
typing away, and that's nice. They're behaved, but we want to see interaction. And so
Mm-hmm.
I did a training with them where I showed a lot of these ideas. And I've only heard great things anytime I share that stuff, where people are like, oh my gosh, yeah, the students, they're debating, they're defending their rationale, they're connecting, and I think it's so important that we keep that as part of the learning process.
Yeah. We often overlook those soft skills, of those cross curriculars where
Yeah.
I mean, those are the skills too. When you look at jobs nowadays, like no, I don't want somebody that got 98 in math. No, I want a
Yeah.
problem solver. you know, I
No,
want somebody
you're
that
on.
can, yeah, yeah,
You're exactly right. Yeah, it's been several years ago now, but Google hired the economist to do a big in-depth study of businesses and what they were looking for. And yeah, the top five skills are basically the four C's. They
Right.
had problem solving and critical thinking broken out, but they had like problem solving, communication, collaboration, creativity, critical
Mhm.
thinking. Those are the top five
Good.
things that businesses are looking for in
That's it.
students. So they need to be doing those things in their learning.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Well, I was driving my son to school this morning and he has a test and he's like, Dad, why do I have to memorize all this stuff? Like, speaking to me because I've been an educator my whole life, really,
Yeah.
or in schools, and I still can't answer it. I'm not sure, son. You kind of got to jump through the hoops. So there's this disconnect between what we're getting kids ready for in school and then the reality of what they're facing in the real world. And I've started to see over, the last handful of years that even if you leave out of university, there's no guarantees, right? That, oh, you're going to get the job you want and everything's going to just fall in place. What do you think about that disconnect and how can we lessen that gap a little bit more?
Well, yeah, I agree. I think a lot of times when I do keynotes or things, I'll talk something to that effect of how, I mean, it's nothing revolutionary. We've heard it 100 times,
Right,
but we
right,
need to prepare our students for their future, not our pasts.
right.
That we need to be thinking about that. Take artificial intelligence as an example. The genie's out of the bottle. It's not going
Mhm.
back in.
No.
It's here. And the current estimates, they're talking in the next 5 years, 300 million jobs getting, significantly affected by it. 30%, 25% depends upon what study you look at,
Sure,
talking
sure.
about, yeah, some jobs getting eliminated, but not necessarily. A lot of times it's just jobs getting modified. Like,
Right.
okay, if you're going to be competitive, if you're going to be able to go up against somebody else and get that job, uh yeah, you need to understand how AI works, how you can leverage it, how you can use it appropriately.
Right.
I don't know who came up with the quote, but I love it. The quote that says, AI will not take your job, people who know how to use AI will.
That's right.
That it's
I like
about
that.
that.
Yeah.
And so, that's part of it, is saying as schools we need to do our best to look toward the future and say,
Hmm.
okay, we can't predict it. I mean, every as humans we're notoriously bad predicting what the future is going to look like, but as best as we can, say, okay, well, AI is going to be a part of it. So instead of saying, okay, let's shut this down, let's block this, let's get it in our filters and shut it down and
Right.
whatever. I understand if you need a little time to figure stuff out and get policies put in place. Totally, absolutely. Don't just rush
Mm-hmm.
headlong into this.
Mm-hmm.
But the goal needs to be, okay, ultimately, how can we use a tool like AI effectively in our classes, model it for our students, encourage our students to engage with it in school safe ways so they can learn how to identify inaccuracies,
Mm-hmm.
identify biases, understand what limitations are there, but also understand how it can help them be the best they can be. And so right now, that's kind of what my main push is. I would
Yeah.
say,
Yeah.
for years, my focus has been this, that, whatever. But right now, I would say probably 95% of my trainings
Mm,
are with schools on helping them get up to speed on AI.
absolutely.
And at first, it was really basic stuff, but now we're getting more into, okay, so now let's really look at how can this improve
Yeah.
education? How can it really make a difference?
Hmm.
And how can we use it practically in our classrooms?
For sure. I really liked your book too. Control Alt Achieve.
Yeah,
Common tools
yeah,
for uncommon ways. What
yeah,
you also did this webinar called The ABCs of AI. Can you
yeah.
can you expand on that a bit? What the ABC are?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. So the ABCs of AI is probably the most common training I do at this point. I imagine in a few years it won't be. It'll be one of those things that's not as necessary, but that's where we as a school
Hmm.
system are right now. Everybody seems to be there. So the ABCs stand for A is all about AI, B is the benefits of AI, and C is the concerns of AI. So the A portion, the all about AI, is what is AI, which I know seems a little silly. We feel like, oh, doesn't everybody know? No, no, no. Actually, a
No.
lot of folks are still really just learning about this.
Yep.
So, what is it? But also, what are the tools? What
Mm-hmm.
right now are the tools that are available? Yeah, you got your chat GPTs and stuff, but what about
Mm-hmm.
all of these amazing educational implementations of artificial intelligence? So the A portion of the training is what is AI and what are the tools? The B portion is the benefits. How can we use this? How can we as teachers use it? How can it assist us? Teacher, guidance counselor, principal, doesn't matter, whatever the case. How can it be your assistant? And I really
Mm-hmm.
want to emphasize that. AI is not here to do your job. It's here to help you do your job better. So AI is the assistant. You still have the final say. The buck stops with you. You've got to verify things. You've got to put your personality into it. You got to adjust it for your students. So, yes, but it can be that TA. Now, I don't know if you got TAs up there. When I was in
Mm-hmm.
college, I was a
Mm-hmm.
TA, a teacher's assistant when I was in
Right.
college. That's
Right.
help pay for some of my college. So I, graded papers and stuff like that. I became a public school teacher. I'm like, hey, where's my TA? Well, we don't get them. Well, now you've got one. If you
Yeah.
so choose, you can have a 24-hour personal assistant, and
Totally.
our students can have a 24-hour personal tutor. It's not just the benefits to us, it's the benefits to our students. It's true
Mm-hmm.
personalized learning where each student can have this additional help. Evenings, weekends, when I can't be there as a teacher, the AI can help supplement that, meet them where they're at, explain things, and so forth. But having said that, A's and B's are great. We have to have the C's of the ABCs, which is addressing the concerns
Right.
of AI. We cover loads of things in that session. I talk about academic integrity. So dealing with cheating, we do a deep, deep dive into how do we address potential cheating with AI. But then we talk about other things, inaccuracies, biases,
Mm-hmm.
data privacy, uh, how to educate students about AI, things like deep fakes,
Right.
and using
Right.
AI to impersonate others. There's a wide range of potential concerns. And as much as I do get excited about the potential good for AI, and as much as I'm trying to push the needle in the positive direction,
Mm-hmm.
you can't do that if you don't also address the concerns.
For
If
sure.
you just say, oh, no, 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 it's going to be fine, well, then it's not, because then you're not preparing,
Mm-hmm.
for it. So we have to have good policies, good guidelines, good instruction for our teachers, good instruction for our students, good communication with parents about what is being expected. And so that all has to go together. So that's what that typically, I do that one as like either a full day workshop or maybe a half day workshop with schools. I have done like really, really quick abbreviated versions just to give a couple of key points, but most of the time that's done as a multi-hour workshop when I'm
Yeah.
working with schools.
Yeah. And again, talking about our early adopters, how have you seen those early adopters integrate AI into, a lesson or a theme, or like, could you give us a couple of examples of where you've seen AI um integrated in an effective way?
Yeah. Now, keep in mind, that's a really broad question. There are so
Yes.
many ways to use AI.
Yes. Yes.
I will first just say, of course, AI can be used for daily tasks. It can help save time. It can help you brainstorm. It can help you generate content. It can help you adjust content. All of that's good. I'm in no way, but let's get to more what you're asking about. What about impacting students?
Mm-hmm.
How about
Mm-hmm.
changing things like that? Well, that's what I get excited about. You know, take something as simple as doing what I call an AI interview. Basically, a teacher can say, hey, we've been learning about XYZ in
Mm-hmm.
class. We've been learning about, the American Revolution, or we've been learning about metamorphosis, and we've been learning about, wild weather. We've been learning about whatever. Guess what, guys? We have a special guest in class today. We have Jay Gatsby from The Great Gatsby is joining us today in class. Or we're going to be talking to a hurricane today. A hurricane is joining us in class, and basically you just tell ChatGPT, Gemini, Claude, whatever, say, hey, I want you to pretend to be this. Now, I've got a prompt that I've worked out over time that tries to get ahead of potential issues. It tells the AI, avoid biases,
Mm.
strive for accuracy. If you don't know the answer to something, don't make it up. Let us know that you don't. Encourage critical thinking, blah, blah, blah. So I got
Right.
this really big prompt that I use.
Mm.
But in the end, what it does is it allows the students to be way more engaged. They can start asking questions they're interested in. Hey, well, ask it this. But the teacher is totally in control. The
Mm.
teacher is the one who's still doing the typing, so they can decide which questions go in and which ones don't. But the students get to ask what they're interested in, and they get to learn about things in a more engaging manner, while all along the teacher is encouraging critical thinking, saying, well, hey,
Mhm.
if the AI says something you don't agree with, let's talk about it. Why,
Right.
why did it say that? Let's push back on that.
Mm.
Now, that's an easy intro, but you can go further. Now we have so many tools that allow every student individually to talk to a customized AI chatbot, whether it is school AI or whether it's Brisk Teaching
Mm.
or Mizu or Phobiz. There's a bunch out there where
Mhm.
the teacher can customize an AI chatbot, and then the students can just click a link and chat with it. But it's school safe in that the students are not creating accounts, they're not
Right.
logging in, it's just all anonymized. But the teacher can monitor the whole thing. The
Mm.
teacher sees everything the student types, everything the AI types. And so now we've got a situation where there's one of me and 25 of them. I can't reach every kid on the level I want, but now the AI can come alongside and every student can have a conversation, or they can have a debate, or they can do brainstorming, or they can get tutoring. And that's the kind of stuff I'm getting excited about, is seeing things that we've known for so long are valuable educational practices, but we've said they're just not practical.
Mm.
We're talking about personalized learning.
Mhm.
If you go, I'll give the credit to Sal Khan for sharing this. That's who I saw it from originally. He was
Mhm.
talking about Benjamin Bloom doing a study back in the 80s where he was trying to say, how do we increase achievement?
Mm.
And he showed the bell shaped curve. And he said, well, if we implement mastery learning, we can move every student's achievement one standard deviation up. He goes, there is something better than that, though. There is a way to move everybody's achievement two standard deviations up. But the only way to do that is to give every student a personal tutor.
Mm.
Well, we can't do that. So let's just work on mastery learning.
Right.
Well, guess what, folks? We can do it now.
That's
We
amazing.
can now give every student
That's
a
it.
personal tutor. We can give them this additional support that then doesn't just meet the kids where they're at, but it informs the teacher. It gives us actionable data to know which students are struggling where. And now I can pull those 5 kids aside and I can personally connect to them. So that's the kind of stuff I'm getting excited about,
Yeah.
is stuff we've known for years. This is good educational practice, but we go, it's not practical.
Right.
It is now.
Yeah.
Now we can start doing these things.
Absolutely. Well said. Great examples too, Eric. Wow. I'll link those
Oh,
on the
absolutely.
blog so people can go and actually look at them and check them out. Um, I guess I want to wrap things up with this question. How do you aggregate your blog? Control Alt Achieve. Like, how do you, like, where does it all come? Like, are you must be online searching, mining the internet, or like, what's your
Yeah,
process for, like, every
absolutely.
week you put out a newsletter, you add new apps,
I
how do you
try, I shoot for
generate
every
those?
week. So some weeks it doesn't happen just because, life.
Sure,
But yes,
sure.
that is my goal, is every week to share a newsletter.
Mm.
So absolutely. I think it's important that we all find ways to aggregate, to pull things in. For me, it's a couple of things. One of them is, and this is going to sound old school, I use an RSS aggregator.
Okay.
So I have found over the years maybe 150 wonderful EdTech blogs where people share great things. And I've added them to an RSS aggregator. So basically, I go to a website, and instead of me going to 150 blogs, I go to one website and it brings 150 blogs to me. And so maybe once a week, twice a week. It's like, oh, time to head over to my RSS site. And I just go click, 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 click. Oh, that one looks neat. Oh, let me look at that. Click, click. Oh, that one looks cool. And so it lets me quickly look at what all of my amazing colleagues all over the world have been posting,
Yeah.
and it brings it in one place. And so that is one area. Another is newsletters. Yeah, I put out a newsletter, but I subscribe to a ton of newsletters. And
Mm.
I had a blog post recently where I shared some of my favorite EdTech newsletters. And so I'm constantly reading those as well. Again, once or twice a week, hey, time to go through the newsletters. I've got a Gmail folder where they just all go into. Okay, let's see what Tony shared this week. Okay, let's see what Jen shared this week. I start going through and reading their newsletters, and we're probably just recycling each other's content. But I find great things from Ryan and all these people. Oh, hey, that's a really cool one.
Yeah.
And so it's things like that. On top of that, a lot of things I share also just come from needs. I'll get emails from somebody saying, hey, how do I do this, Eric? Or I've run against this issue, or we're having this problem. And so that's another big piece of it, is solving problems, whether it's in my day job, whether it's emails I get. A lot of things I end up posting are trying to address a concern somebody had, a problem they had. Hey, here's a cool solution for that. So between the RSS feeds and the newsletters and just my day job and my communication with people, a lot of that is
Yeah.
probably what gets the ball rolling on a lot of the content that I am sharing and also creating.
Well, I mean, it's one of my go-tos whenever I'm looking for the new things, and also it's not only just the tools, but you also provide tons of webinars and PD, and I mean, it's
Yes.
just such a rich environment. And that's one of the things I always say to teachers is create a really solid network by reaching
Yes.
out, seeing what's out there, and then following people, and because there's no shortage of stuff. But understanding the stuff and how it might be integrated is where I tend to get a ton of ideas from the people I follow. So
Absolutely.
thanks so much for creating that and maintaining it. I'm sure it's a, a love hate at times, just because it never ends. It's like,
It,
and the
it
stuff
never
just
ends.
keeps coming out. And, well, Eric, this has been a real treat. Thanks so much for hopping on and talking a little bit about what
My
you do.
pleasure.
And it's been really enlightening in a lot of ways. And I'll share all the links that we've talked about in this episode. But please go and check out Control Alt Achieve, the website. His book is up there, tons of on AI, and it's just a plethora of amazing stuff. So Eric, continue what you do, and I'll surely continue following until the sun never comes up anymore.
That's right.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.